Penn State zeroing in on a guy that could save the job of Pat Kraft.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, the number one sports podcast network out there. Thank you all so much for making that the case. The Big 12 championship game. What do we need to know for that and best bets? I'm just going all out and going to have a pick that is officially in the best bets, provided by our friends at FanDuel, of course, for every conference championship game this weekend. Why not? Why not? Got to try to dig myself out of the hole somehow. This episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. How about that? If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Reports surfaced on Thursday that Matt Campbell is the latest name Penn State is targeting. And this could be a home run, but in a celebrity softball game rather than Game 7 of the World Series. So if Penn State had gone out and gotten John Sumrall early in the cycle, or somehow pulled Curt Cignetti from Indiana, or Kalen DeBoer from Alabama, if one of those things had happened, that would be this end of the spectrum. This end of the spectrum over here is what we talked about yesterday on the show with Zach Sako of Locked On Nittany Lions, hiring Terry Smith, the interim, after you fired James Franklin, who's taking all the recruits and down to Blacksburg for Virginia Tech. Good for the Hokies. Good for the Hokies. I hope James Franklin succeeds because the Virginia Tech fan base deserves a winner. I think he can give it to him. But bringing this back to Penn State, this is making the best, potentially, of a bad situation. Now, you put yourself in the bad situation by fumbling, bumbling, and stumbling your way through this coaching carousel. Pat Kraft, the athletic director at Penn State, is not a very popular guy in Happy Valley because it seems like everybody's got a coach and Penn State doesn't. And they were one of the first to punt on their season because it was going so poorly so that they could get into the coaching carousel, and it resulted in absolutely nothing. So I'm not looking at the passing of National Signing Day as the be-all, end-all. I'm not looking at the January transfer portal window, which is new because we just can't keep anything. That is actually a good change. It's not the best change, but it's a better change for college football. It's a better outcome, I should say, and a decent change. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I'm not looking at those two windows and saying, you see, Penn State, this is why you screwed up. This is why. You have to be thinking in the long term when you make a move like the one that Penn State made earlier this year in firing James Franklin. You can't be overly concerned. Not that 2026 doesn't matter, not that it's irrelevant, or that Penn State isn't a program capable of quickly reloading, putting a roster together and a team on the field that should be able to at least contend for a college football playoff. You can. I just wouldn't sacrifice that at the expense of making the right move. Now, in the situation that they have put themselves in, you're trying to chip your way out of the woods or the creek on the golf course, and, well, who hit it there? Oh, you did. Yeah, you sliced your drive off the tee. Well, all you can do now is try to scramble and make par. Matt Campbell at Iowa State would be making par because Matt Campbell would be a good hire. Frankly, I didn't put together a top 10 shortlist for Penn State. Matt Campbell is someone that could have easily wound up on that sort of list. I don't know if he would have been in my top 10, but when I saw this going around, my initial reaction was, oh, that would be the best thing you could possibly do. Because the other candidates that could potentially, would Willie Fritz leave Houston after 2 years? Could you get Jeff Brom from Louisville? Seems like the answer there is no. So if that's not the case, and you're letting all the good coordinators go get hired everywhere, and you passed on Brian Hartline. You didn't want Will Stein. Didn't show an interest in Tosh Lupoi, Oregon's other coordinator, who's now a Power 4 head coach. Then, yeah, you're clearly looking for someone that has head coaching experience. Okay, that's totally fine. Matt Campbell would have been a good hire at the start of this cycle. A good hire. And sometimes in these conversations, when you say good hire, it comes off to people as, oh, you don't think he's that good. No, Matt Campbell would be a good hire. Matt Campbell would have been a good hire on November 24th. Matt Campbell would be a good hire on December 5th or December 8th. Though now I would actually say, I'm going to correct myself in real time, on December 5th or December 8th, Matt Campbell would be a great hire, given the circumstances that Penn State is in. Because you have fallen so far behind, because you have screwed everything up and missed so many candidates over and over. It was Matt Rule. It wasn't Matt Rule. Kurt Signet. It wasn't Kurt Signet. Kalen DeBoer. No, the buyout's too big. He's now leaving Alabama. He's going to the playoff, for goodness sake. When none of those happen, of the options that are currently available, I can readily make the case that Matt Campbell is the best one. He's been head coach for a long time at 2 different spots. He played for a season before he went to a smaller school in Ohio. He played at Pittsburgh, so it's not as if he isn't familiar with the state in which you reside. And at Iowa State, he has a top 10 finish. It was in the COVID season, so take it with a grain of salt. But he has built in Ames a consistent winner, and that is not something that I take lightly when evaluating coaching resumes. His first year at Iowa State, he went 3-9. Since then, he has won 8, 8, 7, 9, 7, 4, 7, 11, and 8 games. He has been arguably the most successful coach in the history of Iowa State football. He has been winning at a place in a conference that's not as tough at the top as the Big Ten, but the relative depth that you're going up against in the Big 12, I think, is a little bit stronger when you're dealing with the resources that you have available to you at Iowa State. And the fact that you are the number 2 program nationally in your own state. Now, Matt Campbell has won the rivalry game against Iowa for the last couple of years, but historically, Iowa's a bigger brand. They're in a bigger conference. They've been a more successful program on a national stage. And Matt Campbell, what does he do? He just puts his head down, goes to work, and wins games. And a good hire doesn't always have to be a flashy hire. A good hire doesn't always have the wow factor. Sometimes a good hire is just that. It's just a good hire. The best golfer in the world, unless you're talking about the Ryder Cup, of course, is Scottie Scheffler. It's really hasn't been close for the last couple of years. He's run away with that title for the time being. Scottie Scheffler, when you watch him play golf, routinely is what I would describe as boring. Sometimes when I play a good round of golf, it feels really boring. Scottie Scheffler can be a boring watch. There's nothing exciting. When Jordan Spieth was at his peak in 2015, man, he was a good watch. He's my favorite player, by the way. He was a great watch because he's spraying it all over the yard. He's doing incredible things with his short game. He's scrambling all over the place. He's hitting these miraculous recovery shots. Scottie Scheffler's just put it in the fairway, just put it on the green. Oh, I'm 5 feet away. Yeah, I make that for birdie. Oh, I didn't make it. That's okay. I'll just go eagle the next hole. It's a reachable par 5. I'm just fairway, green. Oh, I missed the green? Oh, sure, I can get up and down. Sometimes boring is good. And I don't think Matt Campbell's a boring guy. I don't think he has a boring personality. He's been well regarded in coaching circles for a while. He's generated NFL buzz a time or two. And if at this point in the cycle, when the perception of the Penn State coaching search is correctly seen as an abject, disastrous failure, going out and getting somebody the caliber of Matt Campbell, yeah, I think that would be a move that could save Pat Kraft's job. And yes, I believe Matt Campbell would succeed at Penn State. Let me know your thoughts in the YouTube comments below. Hit me up on Twitter. Let's get ready for the biggest game in the history of BYU football. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game. You're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, defense tightens up, or their momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. And I'll have my best bets provided by FanDuel, of course. The odds are, duh. I mean, I should maybe be saying that to myself because I'm under 500 for the year. Maybe this will be the weekend. Maybe I'll save it. But you know what? coming off a 500 week and 2 losing weeks before that, maybe you should fade the picks. Maybe you should just go across the board. Boom, going against Spencer every chance I get. You might make some money if you do. If you'd been doing that all season, you would have made some money. I'm trying to help you out. That's all. And FanDuel is the way to do just that. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Here is how BYU gets it done. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 is here to discuss the biggest game in the history of BYU football. Okay, that might be overstating things a little. But in the modern era, Drake, it's very true because they've got a chance to win, and the committee can't keep them out of the playoff if they win this game. I mean, well, I don't know. They could. Like James Madison wins, Virginia wins, Tulane wins, and the committee's like, well, we just feel like James Madison's a really strong team.
Why are you like this? You should work at the Salt Lake Trib. You would fit in right with them with their BYU coverage. This is just gross and negligent.
First of all, would like to make it abundantly clear that what is happening to BYU is horrible. Sometimes you laugh about things that are horrible to try and better cope with them. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at with that
BYU
line.
loses tens of millions of dollars by not making the playoff as 11. It's funny. I get it. It's funny. Come on.
Anyway, how did they win the game, Drake?
Well, they limit the chunk plays. And that is something where you can be of the mind, as most average ball knowers are. By the way, talking about average ball knowers, you didn't even lead the show today with BYU and Texas Tech. We're talking coaching rumors?
Well, I had a plan. And then a very reliable source tipped me off that Matt Campbell was going to be a target at Penn State. No. And then it was reported by some other sources, and I saw, that's where we got to go.
You had concepts of a plan, and then you went.
I did have concepts of a plan. I was on my radar. And then I saw the national reports. I'm like, here we go, Jim. Here we go.
And so you buried BYU and Texas Tech to your second segment on
Let's
today's
not
show.
call it burying. This is a very widely listened to podcast. I think my average listenership is very high.
It's good enough. Someday it'll be Locked On Big 12, but it's just semantics here. Okay, let me take your question, and I'm happy to answer it in the chunk play thing. I'll explain, but let me answer your question with another question. Do you think there is any world, where Spencer McLaughlin sees BYU actually winning this game?
I don't think BYU fans would want me to say that on the air if I did see that scenario.
So this is not going to take a Herculean effort for BYU to win. It's not going to be the biggest upset, most impossible. How did it happen? Oh my goodness, you blew me away. We this season alone, like Washington State and Oregon State flipped kind of a blowout score. And that's niche, no doubt, but it's college football at the same time. As little as everyone talked about Washington State, Oregon State, there's the same way that BYU can flip the script here against Texas Tech and just say, hey, look, you didn't care about that game. No one watched that game, but this happens. Like, teams lose games by a wide margin, but then come back and say, hey, we didn't turn the ball over 3 times the second time around, and we didn't allow the chunk plays, and we ended up winning. I think BYU is much closer than the 29-7 score would indicate to Texas Tech. Now, a big piece of this, Spencer, and this is the 18th time I've mentioned this on a show this week. I'll continue to. Cameron Dickey, in the first game these two teams played, 33 yards was his longest carry. Jacoby Williams, 43 yards, his longest carry. That would add up to 76 yards. Mm-hmm. Texas Tech had in total 149 yards. So half of their yardage came on 2 carries. The other half came on 41 carries. Texas Tech kicked 5 field goals. Their red zone offense was not good against BYU's defense. The BYU defense, 4 sacks against Baron Morton. Now, the reason I'm giving you all the numbers that favor BYU here, twofold. Number one, I do think BYU can win this game. I could give you a million reasons. Texas Tech will just do what they've been doing and take care of business. But I'm trying to justify how BYU can stay in this. 2, the reason I'm justifying that is the Big 12 Conference, Brett Yormark, his office, are all rooting clearly for BYU. They want 2 playoff teams. And it's not just, it would look good. We're talking millions of dollars that are given by the committee, the revenue stream from TV that's just given directly to teams that make it, and also the exposure for the league, the PR for the league that is just millions tenfold in marketing. The Big 12 wants BYU to win, plain and simple. And Texas Tech will still get in. Zero doubt about that. I think
zero doubt with this committee. You're placing zero doubt because look, I would have zero. If I were a committee of one, there would be a 0% chance they wouldn't get in. But 10-2 with a loss to BYU, who
11.
they haven't liked. 11-2 with a loss to BYU, who they haven't liked all year. And Arizona State. I think it's more likely than not Texas Tech is in. Let's make that clear. You said 0% chance.
Zero.
I cannot predict what this committee is going to do because they're. I've heard it get framed like this before, and I think it's correct. They are do what they want and rationalize later. That's what this committee is.
3 weeks in, the guy in charge of the committee got deposed. So this is already a pretty messed up committee. But Spencer, let's understand this. We are looking at a very clear case against the Sherman Antitrust Act. And you're like, why would they bring up the Sherman Antitrust? BYU, Texas Tech, the Big 12, BYU has already sued college football for a lack of representation of the BCS era. Like, BYU is kind of the reason we got the whole BCS thing because they sued the NCAA. We are looking at the exact same thing. If you say, hey, wait a second, that's weird. Ole Miss didn't play a game and they got to go, but Texas Tech got left out. That's a very easy lawsuit to win, and it would once again reshape how we do college football postseason. People forget we did the BCS because of BYU and them suing the entire format. We're looking at that again. If you leave Texas Tech out, they won't do it.
The committee wants so badly for BYU to lose this football game.
Absolutely.
Every single member. I saw Kirk Herbstreit online getting ripped for saying that, and I was like, he's pointing out what is plainly true. I don't think that Kirk Herbstreit is saying that's what he wants to have happen. He's saying that's what the committee wants, and it 1,000% is. They do not want to have them because they love Notre Dame, because Notre Dame passes the eye test. By the way, what about Miami doesn't pass an eye test? I don't know. Over the last several weeks, they beat.
Well, they lost to Notre Dame, so that's what.
Wait, backwards. Freaky Friday. That was other way around. Yeah, that's not right. Here's another one. Let me throw this out there. Let's say BYU fails to win the football game. Do they just sit there at 11? Do they stay put? Do they not move? Is BYU's sole divine purpose in life in the eyes of the committee to be the buffer between Miami and Notre Dame? Hey, or is BYU going to drop and then the head-to-head will have to come into play and Miami will get into the playoff? Because I think there's a non-zero chance that happens.
Look, I've asked Jake Hatch about this. I've asked Gary Patterson about this. Now Spencer McLaughlin. BYU, strength of record, number 6. Notre Dame, number 13. Strength of schedule, BYU 35, Notre Dame 42. Best win, BYU number 15, Notre Dame versus number 17. Worst loss, BYU number 5, Notre Dame number 12. 10-2 versus 11-1. Why is Notre Dame above BYU? Their resume is not better. Not even close.
Let me throw up my top 25 rankings for the week, Drake. Are you ready for this? For those watching on YouTube? Oh, look at that. Is that BYU at 9? Yeah, it is. Where's Notre Dame at 12? Why? For all the reasons you just listed. So to the question that you just asked, I don't know. No. I do not know the answer to that question.
It is what is happening right now. It's bad for the sport is putting it lightly. We are telling you there are 2 conferences. That's going to be a massive offseason topic. We are telling America there are 2 conferences in college football. If you aren't in those 2, you better go unblemished, or we're probably not going to care. Yeah.
It's not a great place. It's not the sort of decision-making I would like to govern the greatest sport on planet Earth. I tell you what, it's going to rationalize playoff expansion. That's what they're going to do.
You and I have not had this conversation yet, and I would love to hear your thoughts. I don't mean to commandeer, but I think that Vanderbilt at 14, 15, 16 could compete with Texas A&M. Neutral site, I think that's a fun game. A good game where Vanderbilt wins 4 out of 10 times. To me, if we go to 16 in today's era, now in 2011, it doesn't make sense to go to 16. In today's era, 16, I think you can still play some competitive games, namely if we're not just adding 3 different North Texas is in there. And I want North Texas to have a shot, but one or two of those group of 5 schools, group of 6 schools, I think that the number 16 team, if they are USC or any given year a Vanderbilt, could compete at the very least.
Here's the thing, because I've talked about this before in the context of the gap between the top of the sport and those that are trying to knock them off is not as big as it used to be. On that, we agree. Where I don't agree is that's a justification to expand the playoff, because now you are further reducing the meaning of the actual games that get played during the season, and we're starting to feel like the NFL. Can anyone tell me a major season-defining singular outcome in the NFL so far this year? Can anybody give me one?
Not yet, but also, Spencer.
Not yet is the only
Spencer,
answer I needed to hear.
Those ratings are still better than college football.
Yeah,
people
but
are
that's
still
watching
the NFL. They're watching it higher.
That's not money that comes in my direction. I do not care. I want the sport to be the best that it can possibly be.
You just told me when BYU got a double-digit win at Cincinnati, who's been in the top 25 half this season and didn't even move a smidge, that the regular season already doesn't matter that much.
Well, only for look. Make me a one-man committee, and this will all go
You
away.
and Josh Pate, huh?
Hey, I think the two of us could accomplish a great many things for the sport. I think we could do a lot of He can work on playoff selection. I'll work on calendar. Okay, those will be our delegated tasks, respectively, and I think that would result in a better sport. I think Texas Tech wins 28-20. By the way,
I'm going to go with BYU. I think BYU wins 27-23. Oh, I like that too. BYU wins. Yeah.
Is that a Big 12 championship scoregami right there? Is that what we've got?
There haven't even been that many Big 12 championship games. There's like 20
it probably is a scoregami.
Almost no matter what they do, it'll be a scoregami.
Could very well be. Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12. What about the rest of the conference championship games? I will attempt to tell you how those are going to go. We won't know until the weekend whether or not I actually succeed. First, this episode brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it. So when whoever you're getting it for plugs it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. As so happens, I saw one of these in the store the other day, and I'm telling you, they look great. It looks like a professional grade picture frame, because it is, and then when the photo changes, it almost feels like you're in the Harry Potter world. Photos are moving. No, they're just changing it to relive several moments in one picture frame. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's AURA frames.com. Promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. I can see why. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Check them out at auraframes.com. How could this possibly go wrong? The best bets have had at least 4 and no more than 6 bets in a week this year. And guess what? We're going every conference championship game right here, all 9. Here we go. Let's start with Virginia playing Duke in a rematch. Hard to beat the same team twice, not when that team is Duke. The Blue Devils defense, interestingly enough, when you consider Manny Diaz was defensive coordinator at Penn State, does not have a good defense. It is not. The Virginia offense has had its moments. I really hope Chandler Morris is 100% for this game. If he is, give me the Cavaliers to win. They go to the college football playoff. They'll be the 11 seed. They'll probably play Ole Miss, and the Rebels will win a playoff game, I suppose. They'll win, and Lane Kiffin won't be there because, Well, that's the college football world that we are in. So Virginia's favored by 3.5. All these lines, of course, provided by our friends at FanDuel. Virginia minus 3.5, 34-28. I think they beat Duke. Ohio State, Indiana, Buckeyes. Swallow the 4.5, 27-20. Look, Ohio State is such a complete football team. And guess what? Indiana is also a very complete football team. And Ohio State has a really good coaching staff. And Indiana has a really good coaching staff. Quick side question. Can someone answer why Indiana's coordinators haven't gotten serious buzz to be head coaches? The answer is probably agents. Isn't that curious? It's all about Cignetti. It's all about Cignetti. Do you even know the name of Indiana's coordinators? Yeah, you probably don't. You can look them up if you would like. They're still going to be the coordinators in 2026, which means Indiana will probably be a really good team in 2026. And I didn't have any doubts about that to begin with. So Ohio State minus 4.5. I'd rather be wrong picking Ohio State than picking against them when they're undefeated. And man, the last time they lost was that inexplicable rivalry game last year to Michigan. They just look like they're a team on a mission. They're getting healthy at wide receiver. They have just got answers everywhere that you look. They've got NFL guys everywhere you look. Their talent replacement from last year to this year has been incredible. Julian Sayin, I think, should be the Heisman Trophy winner. It's probably going to come down to who wins this game. That might be the biggest stakes outside of the Indiana playing Ohio State part. That might be the biggest thing to come out of this is the winning team probably has their quarterback go win the Heisman. Give me Ohio State 27-20. How about the Mountain West? There is a non-zero chance that UNLV winds up in the college football playoff. That's the world we're living in with head coach, wait for it, it's Dan Mullen. Head coach Dan Mullen could be in the playoff if he wins this game, an underdog of 3.5 points against 8-4 Boise State. Now, I don't look at Boise's record and discredit them at all because they've won the last couple Mountain West championships. They've beaten UNLV in big spots over and over again, and that ends this week. UNLV pulls what wouldn't be a huge upset, but is a slight upset at the very least. They're 3.5-point dogs. Obviously, they get it done. 31-27, I think they win. Love Anthony Calandria, the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. UNLV's quarterback has played great. Their defense in the last month of the season has started to really improve, and I do not trust this Boise State offense. They have taken a big step back without Ashton Jeanty. Georgia against Alabama. Look, I really do, and I'm not saying this is likely because it isn't. I hope that Alabama is out of the playoff if they lose. I legitimately want that to be the case. I would like for that Florida State loss to hold the same weight that the Florida loss is holding to Texas. But is punishing a team for getting in the conference championship game fair? Well, you know what's really fair? Beating Florida State, and you wouldn't have that question to begin with. So I think that Georgia is the more complete football team. Bama's very one-dimensional. I like it. These are both really good game day adjustment head coaches, find a way to win. They've both shown that this year. Bama, of course, did it last week against Auburn. They beat Georgia earlier this season. I don't think Kirby Smart loses to the same team twice. He beat Texas twice last year. He doesn't lose to the same team twice in a season, at least not in my view. Georgia minus 2.5. I think they just win by a field goal. Good competitive game. 24-21, Bama probably makes the playoff. How about the American winner to the playoff? No questions asked. That's kind of fun. Tulane getting 2.5 against North Texas. Tulane's the higher seeded team. I've had them ranked higher because my top 25 is, of course, almost exclusively driven by resume and nothing else. That's the way it should be, but that's not the way that this playoff committee works. Of course, they're getting 2.5, and I think they win. Not all the favorites are going to win this weekend. We know that happens every week in college football. And look, this is a coin flip, go either way sort of game. I think John Summerall has his defense ready to go enough. They've been bad against the pass this year. That is my biggest concern. I just have this sneaking suspicion they will find a way. They will escape with a win, and it's Jake Retzloff who outplays. Watch this. His total yardage will be higher than Drew Mestamaker's in this game. Give me Jake Retzloff. Give me the green wave. They win 31-27. Now, the other potential G5 playoff team would be James Madison, and That's only if Duke wins. I don't think that's going to happen. But hey, I've been wrong before, especially on this particular segment. James Madison favored by 23.5 against Troy. It won't be close. It will not be close. JMU rolls. Bob Chesney's going elsewhere. I don't think that's going to matter too much in this game because JMU's just better. They have been steamrolling almost everybody they play. 23.5 is a big number. And I tell you, I have been bad. I have been straight up bad putting big numbers in the best bets this year. That's the number one pick I'd fade. But guess what? I'm sticking with it. I am sticking with it. 45-17, they beat Troy. They win the Sun Belt. How about Conference USA? Did you think the Conference USA championship would be Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State? I didn't. Kennesaw State, a recent FCS jumper that is now in a conference championship game. Big spot, breakthrough spot against Rich Rodriguez's old team, Jacksonville State. Kennesaw State favored by 2.5. They win 28-24. Do you like Maction? I like a little Maction. I'm up for it. Miami of Ohio is getting 1.5 points. This coin flip game against Western Michigan, I got to be honest, I'm just picking this one on gut instinct. Miami of Ohio plus 1.5. They beat Western Michigan 29. Weird game because Maxon's weird. 29-26. 29-26, they beat Western Michigan. And of course, as I mentioned earlier in the show, BYU, I don't think they're winning. I do not believe they are going to win. No, sir. BYU, not getting it done. Doesn't happen. Not the way the Cougars roll. But I do think they cover. 28-20. Texas Tech wins the Big 12. BYU should be in the playoff anyway. I'm going to repeat that from now until the end of time. BYU should be in the playoff no matter what. Will they be? No, they have to win. I hope BYU's not going to win. Texas Tech, just a better team across the board. They haven't lost when Baron Morton plays. Maybe him getting dinged up is the biggest key for BYU. So BYU covers the 12.5. Appreciate everyone listening. Enjoy the football this weekend. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.